All right, good morning, everyone. We're so glad that you could join us for today's webinar, providing full access to individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing during virtual trainings and events. We want to thank the South Carolina Vocational Rehabilitation Department, the South Carolina Department of Education's Office of Special Education Services, the Assistive Technology Program at the Center for Disability Resources at USC, and our other partners at the Transition Alliance of South Carolina for supporting this event. Many of you submitted questions during the registration process. We will answer all questions asked, either during today's training as part of a follow-up QA document that will be sent out to all participants, or personally in the coming days. We want to assure you, though, that we will get to all of your questions one way or another. By 6:00 p.m. today, a recording of the presentation, as well as any related resources, will be located at the Task Transition Repository, taskapp.org, taskapp.org. The title is Providing Full Access to Individuals Who are Deaf and Hard of Hearing, or you can search by keyword DHH. While in the repository, you can also view resources from several of the webinars that we are conducting this spring. You can use the keyword search there for 2021 or 2021. We also want your feedback on today's webinar. We'll be sending one to you by email today. You can look for that post-webinar survey in your email inbox today at 2 p.m. Please note also that you will not have control over your speaker during this presentation as it is set up as a webinar. If you have a need or a question, please use the chat feature during the training. We will be monitoring that. So with that, let's get started. After the state virtual transition conference last fall, our team realized that we have a lot of information and knowledge gaps related to providing full accessibility to individuals with disabilities who are navigating this new virtual learning and work world that we're all living in. During our conference, we admittedly failed miserably in the arena of providing appropriate access for participants that we had on board who were requiring sign language interpreters. Our partners at South Carolina Voc Rehab suggested this effort to provide information and training to our education and employment partners across the state. So here we are today. Today's training focuses specifically on meeting virtual access needs for individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. However, discussions to provide support relevant to other needs are already in the works. Future training dates and times will be disseminated via the task listserv and newsletter, and likely with your task partner email list as well. We're so thankful for the partnership that we have with South Carolina Vocational Rehabilitation. There's a wealth of talent in that office, and today we have three super women presenting today. Please welcome Amelia England, who is the Vocational Rehabilitation Counselor for the Deaf, Aileen Welch, the Regional Rehabilitation Counselor for the Deaf, and Kathy Stower, State Coordinator for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services. Welcome, ladies, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Stayer from South Carolina Voc Rehab. I'm the state coordinator for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services here. And I want to thank Joy for that lovely welcome, and hope that she will stop losing it over having the task conference needing interpreters. We are all learning, so we wanted to share what we have done here at VR. And I hope that that's helpful for everybody going forward on how to handle requests for accommodations. But the first thing I want to do is stop for a second and ask to make sure that we have CART for those who need CART, and we have the interpreters are visible to everybody that needs an interpreter. I always like to double check the accommodations on this type of virtual platform. So if you are having a problem with either access to CART or access to the interpreter, please put that information in the chat room. And we've got some great behind the scenes people here from Task and from VR that will help walk you through the process, or will let us know that we need to stop and do some repair before we can go forward. So that's a really good thing to do whenever you do have a webinar, is to double check your accommodations. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Joy mentioned that that there were some really insightful and interesting questions that you all posed that we will not be able to cover in this webinar today. We are going to be really focusing on trainings and conferences that you are going to have virtually, and that's what we've been doing for the last year. However, I wanted to put this resource up because we don't want to not assist with those questions, and they're very important. Many of them relate to the children's access in schools, and now that we've gone to so many virtual platforms. So please, don't think that we're forgetting your questions. However, in the meantime, the National Deaf Center is the go-to resource for most of those questions that you asked. It is an amazing website. It's very easy to use, to navigate, and it addresses lots of the issues that were raised in the registration questions. So look for that. The link to their whole website is on your materials that are going to be posted on the website with Task. So we wanted to start with thinking about a conference or planning a training, either for staff or for outside agencies, or for whatever your professional group is. And generally, I like to start with, what's actually required to do. And that's your go-to is going to be the ADA and how you fit into the ADA, what your organization is. And the part of the ADA that addresses communication, particularly for deaf and hard of hearing people, is the part that is called effective communication. And so that is a great place to start. Their website is excellent. And then there's also a link on the materials that will be posted to the Southeast ADA. And the Southeast ADA is our area's technical assistance center. And any questions that you have about access and what you need to provide, that they will help you with that. They're excellent. They respond very quickly to either a phone call or an email. So that is a great web based technical assistance to use. So again, planning for effective communication, and usually what we find out is whatever we do to make it more effective for deaf and hard of hearing people works for hearing people too. So it just enhances your ability to communicate your information. Again, this is the Title I, II, and III ADA. So you want to look at those, figure out what your organization, where you fall into those categories, to figure out how to plan for accommodations and how to plan for what may come up when someone registers for your conference or for your training. So back in 1990, when the ADA was passed, there was no website accessibility mentioned, because that wasn't part of our landscape at that time. But since that time, they have developed guidelines for how to make websites accessible. And I know we're not talking about planning a website, but these guidelines can help you with virtual trainings, virtual platforms. So it'll help you figure out what can I do to make my training accessible. And you'll see it abbreviated WCAG. And that's what you want to look for in terms of assistance with how to make a virtual meeting or a virtual platform accessible. So the best way to even start this is when the initial planning of your event, and to plan for participants that may need accommodations. So now you figured out what kind of entity you are and you know your requirements. So you want to know what could the options be for access for any group of people. And generally you can find that out by contacting your peers in those areas. Like here at Voc Rehab, we provide lots of assistance to people who are asking about how to make a job site more accessible or how to make their classroom more accessible. And we're happy to provide either the resources that can help you or any information that we have as well. And you want to get an idea of what accommodations cost. And that's that's going to factor into your budget. What is the budget and what are your timelines in order to get your registration off the ground and be prepared for registrants who are asking for accommodations. So for deaf and hard of hearing people, the two most commonly requested accommodations would be American Sign Language Interpreting or CART. And CART is real-time captioning. You see it all the time on news programs. You'll see it on, if you turn the CC on your television set. And those are the two most commonly requested, particularly for a conference. So then you go, what is my budget, and do I need to ask for more money to assist with this? American Sign Language Interpreting for a conference generally costs about $60 an hour for each interpreter. A CART provider is about $100 an hour. And you're going to want to also become familiar with what would be their cancellation policies. You know, is there, if, for example, a person registers and then, you know, can't come, can you cancel the interpreting? Those kinds of things. So you want to get familiar with how that's going to affect your budget. The other thing in terms of planning is to look at what you're trying to cover and how you're going to do it. What does your agenda look like? What platform you're using? For example, this is Zoom webinar we're using today, but there are other webinar platforms. Some are not as deaf, hard of hearing friendly as others. Zoom seems to be a good option. It has been. We've been working in virtual world for a long time with Zoom for deaf and hard of hearing services. So it's not bad. The video usually stays pretty good. But you also want to look at how many concurrent sessions would you like to have? And are you going to use a breakout room or use that kind of a feature? Because if you do now, then you have to plan for interpreting for each one of those segments of your conference. So concurrent sessions require that each one of those rooms has the accommodations available. It's really inappropriate to decide, oh, we only have 2 interpreters, so we're going to put all the deaf people in breakout room 1 and we'll put the interpreters there. Because that, unless it's a random assignment, which that's not very random, but if people have a choice to go to different topics, you really want to make sure that your deaf and hard of hearing people have the same choices. And also to make some provisions if you're going to record your event. The platforms are all changing and upgrading. Like since March, I don't know how many times Zoom has already upgraded. But if you're going to record it, then you need to make sure that you have a path after the event to ensure that the captions are placed correctly and have recorded. In the past, Zoom did not record the captions if you had a live captioner. And they didn't have even an automatic system. They do now. So they have upgraded, you know, over and over. So we will, you know, we want to make sure that when you do record it, before you post it, it makes sure that it's fully accessible, that it has the captions intact. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Amelia England, who's going to go ahead and talk about the registration and how you respond to requests for accommodations.
All right. Good morning and hello, everyone. Let's start on the next slide. We'll talk about registration and how to work together to making it accessible and the accommodation. Let's say if society would make it more equivalent and fair to the deaf individuals, we need to start to listen. We need to be in the mindset and willing to listen to the deaf participants. You need to know about our culture and what we need. In the DHH, the deaf and hard of hearing community, we need to have our voices heard and search for the opportunities succeeding in our career. Next slide, please. It's very diverse. Deafness is not just one, what you would think, deaf. There's hard of hearing, the residual hearing of when the range of onset, the background, communication, the culture identity. It varies in the deaf world. And that's just what I'm touching on the surface. I'm not going into deep detail about it, but we've done a lot of research to exactly how we address the accommodations we need and the types of needs we need in the accommodation. Next slide, please. In the deaf culture, people oftentimes talk about the quote to say, the medical, pathological way of fixing the hearing person. It's an audiologist. So this way, we're trying to cross the bridge and see that we're all equals in this. In the medical view, they tend to look at deafness as a disability that can often be corrected by treatment or the medical profession, quote to say, to be normalized. In contrast, in the culture, we preserve and treasure our culture. We don't need to fix us. It depends on each individual. We're not all the same. In South Carolina, we use deaf and hard of hearing, or DHH. We don't use the word mute, hearing impaired, dumb, handicap. No, just deaf, just one word. Or if they're hard of hearing. And all over South Carolina, in your location, you need to make it consistent with what the deaf individual would be preferred to be identified by. Now, if there's a conference online and there's registration, we always include our name, obviously, the agency and organization, our address. Next slide. The accommodations is an important part of the registration. You ask for specific things that you can allow for to be equal in the conference. You ask that in a box at the bottom of the registration and follow up with them. And make sure that this information is available throughout. Now, before COVID, we had interpreters in person. It was 3D, 4D, we could see, clear picture. They're right there in front of us. Now, online, it's like, okay, we're kind of limited. The interpreter is not actually there. We've got to pay attention with our eyes. I can't just look around like I could in person. So we've got, to be tolerable about and mindful of how the conference works online. And of course, in the future, we'll be back. I prefer to be back in the office to have a person, an interpreter there in front of me. Now, let me ask, how would you can find a qualified interpreter? You can go to the website of South Carolina Association of the Deaf, and they have an interpreter list. Also, the South Carolina Register of Interpreters for the Deaf, that also gives you an interpreter's list, and also the Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf, which is a national certification. And that's how you could find your South Carolina interpreters. That website that you noticed on the PowerPoint will provide the list that you would need to make your presentation, your conference accessible. You know, they have different ones. We have the upstate, the Midlands, and the Low Country. Next slide. Now, I know, as I said, it's online. You got to make sure you can pin the interpreter, see the interpreter, know what's going on. And the caption is available for the deaf or hard of hearing. And that allows them to talk and be actively involved in the conversation. For individuals who are hard of hearing, it's perfect. They can hear what's being said and they can read the captions, as well as for deaf individuals. If the interpreter, they couldn't get an interpreter that's available, it's tough, but sometimes it does happen. You know, interpreters aren't available. We have a backup system of the closed caption to make it accessible. And most preferred communication mode is sign language for the deaf. Okay. I think I'm going to turn this over now to Kathy.
Okay. Thanks, Amelia. So, and I've noticed in the chat, there's quite a few questions about CART. So we're going to talk a little bit more about CART here. So there's different levels of CART. Let me just see if I can get those up. So, and CART grew out of court reporting. So court reporters tend to be the people who provide the professional level of CART or the broadcast level of CART. Those are what you see for television. And if you like, there's some football stadiums that even have it. You may not even notice it, but I know the USC Gamecock Stadium does have a live captioner. And CART means there's a live person behind it. There's a person that's actually listening. They have developed what's called their library or their book. It's a very involved type of activity in terms of ensuring the accuracy of it. So CART is word for word, and but does also include the speaker if the CART person is prepared ahead of time. So for example, we want to tell the CART person who the keynote speaker would be, who's heading up certain concurrent workshops. You want to, so that way the CART person is very prepared and they build that into their system. Then there is a person called a captioner. There are also some other types of captioning that are more likely to be used in school settings or college settings, and they are called Typewell and CPrint. So instead of a person having that court reporter level of skill set and or that equipment, it's a person who listens and does not provide a word for word transcript, but makes almost like typing notes for someone. So it's a little bit different, and different hard of hearing people or deaf people prefer the different avenues for different types of meetings. For example, somebody may want the Typewell for their team meeting. So but they're getting the notes from the team meeting. Maybe they're using the residual hearing and listening. So they may want that, but if they needed to go for a formal presentation, they may want CART so that they have word for word of what someone is saying. And then the last one on our list over here is called automatic speech recognition. And this is going to be the one we talk about the most. So let me leave it at that. Automatic speech recognition means it's happening by computer. It's computer generated. And we'll talk about that and how, where it can be useful and where it may not be useful. So some other accommodations that people ask for could be a note taker. Often in college settings, a deaf person who's attending to the sign language interpreter is going to have difficulty looking down to take notes and looking up, or it's way more complicated. And when you think to yourself that most of the time you're not looking at the person that's teaching you, that you're taking notes, you're looking down. So that can be another request. And then one of the apps that we found pretty helpful is called Otter. It is an automatic speech recognition software app that you can get on your phone, your iPhone or your Android phone. I wouldn't recommend it unless I was using it as a backup. I wouldn't recommend it for something very serious, something that was, necessary for my job, but I would recommend it as a tool, for a person to use when there is no other option. Like if you, especially now with people wearing masks and distancing, it's really made it much more difficult for deaf and hard of hearing people to communicate, those who don't use sign language. I mean, it's difficult for the sign language users too, but it's way more difficult for the others. And so the Otter app can be helpful if you're at the store and you've come to pick up your prescription, but they have to ask you a question. Then you can just have it on your phone. You hold your phone up and they talk, and then you turn it around and you can read it. So it's got some application. I'm sure it's going to improve as well, but I'm not going to recommend that for someone's schooling, for their college class, or for a webinar or a training. It's not that convenient, and it's not going to be as accurate. So here we go. We're going to talk about automatic speech recognition, which, if you think back to what I was talking about earlier with the guidelines for website accessibility, first thing that YouTube did and most places did was pick up automatic speech recognition, because you could add that on there without anybody being available to voice it over or to add the captions. So that's what automatic speech recognition. Everybody has probably seen those YouTubes that show how it's not accurate, and it's often phonics based. And so hearing people get it way better than deaf and hard of hearing people get it. So we're going to go ahead and take a little test. And this is automatic speech recognition. And this is a true story. So watch this video. Let me pull it up, and we'll be able to ask you some questions if you could take this class.
Thank you, Zainab. Next slide, please. Now, I'd like to take the time to provide a demo. Recently, NDC was contacted by a deaf student in a pharmacy technician program, indicating that they were having difficulties in getting access, and that their institution was providing ASR access, automatic speech recognition, to their online live courses. And that the errors were not easy to follow, and that the student feared, with their struggles, that they would fail the course because of the ASR. And so now we would like to give you that experience with deaf students who are given ASR to access their courses go through. We found a very basic pharmacology lecture and ran that audio through several ASR programs. What you're about to view is a video of the ASR transcribed words. There is no audio, no sound, which means that you must rely on the captions for information. Pay close attention, since there will be a poll after the video. Next slide, please. And you can play the video. Zainab, why don't you and I close our windows so that the video is enlarged?
So that was helpful. Let's in the chat, if you could tell me, does anybody know what bike or boards app meant? Oh, okay, somebody has Vicodin. And then how about Tylenol? Oh God, I said it anyway, shoot. I'm sorry. It's Tylenol looked like Thailand. So this is one of the things where we have a really difficult time. That would have been a difficult lecture to get through on automatic speech recognition. So that's my little thing with automatic speech recognition. However, everything that we're talking about, we have to keep watching. Nothing that we talk about today in terms of it works or it doesn't work may not be the same in 6 months, in 10 months, in a year, in 5 years. So this is something to really watch and stay abreast of what is happening with the technology and technology solutions. The automatic speech recognition comes from when people use Alexa or Siri. So the vocabularies have gotten better and better. So there are times when automatic speech recognition works pretty well. And as you saw in the beginning of the demonstration, it did work pretty well. I mean, it was a little bit wordy on the professor's part, but by the time they got into the actual drugs that, he was talking about, it didn't work well. It doesn't have the capacity for that. So keep watching the technology, but I would not recommend automatic speech recognition now for any kind of conference or training or any kind of college course or high school class. So you're ready to do your accommodations, and now it's time to plan with providers. So you have you found your sign language interpreters, and you've got your CART providers. And so now you want to do the planning with them to make sure everything works correctly. You want to make sure that the interpreters and the CART providers have a point of contact, that they have access to the PowerPoint ahead of time. Any names, who are the presenters, who are the sponsors, and the key vocabulary. That's so helpful. And if you can just assign somebody from your group, it's really helpful, and it makes everything go more smoothly. And then you want to make sure that there's a testing session. We had a testing session last week for this. We are going to be assisting with the Assistive Technology Expo. We're going to have a testing session for that. So anytime you're going to do something virtually, you want to have a test session and bring in your CART, make sure that's working well, and bring in your interpreters, make sure we know that what kind of level of access they need. Generally, they need the panelist level. So all of those things need to happen. And then you need a kind of almost like a TV director. So somebody that is going to be behind the scenes and ensuring that people are in the right spaces and that CART is working well. It really is helpful. So now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Aileen Welch, who's going to talk about some considerations that you need to make that you may not have thought of, not necessarily related to technology, but more related to how we experience these kinds of accommodations.
Hello. Wow, this is incredible information so far. I'm actually learning a lot. This is great. So I'll keep this brief and to the point. But what we want to talk about is when you're setting up online conferences, you want them to be successful for deaf and hard of hearing people. Next slide, please. So when you're organizing, you want to establish protocols for your meetings when you're having them online. One consideration is to have people have their videos off. Like right now, we can see the interpreter and the presenter, and then the slideshow at the same time. We actually have 77 participants in this group. And if we had everyone on video, we would not be able to access what we needed to. Having just a couple people with videos on it works really well. And I mean, unless you're speaking and asking a question, have your video off and then turn it on to do that. When we're interacting in these environments, please indicate or say your name before you start speaking. As the interpreter and as the deaf and hard of hearing person, we don't know what the voices sound like and can't distinguish between the participants. So if before you have a comment or before you interact, say your name first so that we know who's speaking. Another consideration is we can also use the raise hand feature, which is a feature in Zoom. And so that way, when you hit the raise hand option, it indicates that you would like to have a turn. It also, then we could see, and then say your name, of course, and make your comment or question. And if everyone can follow those steps, it makes for a more successful meeting for the deaf and hard of hearing participants. Turn taking is so important. Speaking over each other means that the interpreter isn't able to determine who's speaking, and then the deaf and hard of hearing person doesn't know who's saying what. So if you have a comment, please do have turn taking while interacting. And it's also a good idea to post questions in the chat box. That way, you know, the people who are monitoring the chat box, it's a good option to have questions there that can be answered throughout the presentation. If you have meetings with deaf and hard of hearing participants, often there's only one interpreter. Sometimes there's two. But if you only have one interpreter in particular, it's a lot for them to interpret and process the entire meeting. Pausing in between speaking, taking breaks, you know, eye fatigue is a real thing in these virtual environments. Your eyes dry out from watching the interpreter so much as a deaf and hard of hearing person, and it does get fatiguing. So if there, especially as there's just one interpreter, do have breaks for their mental processing and ability to kind of close their eyes for 1 second. It's really important when you're utilizing interpreters during your meetings. And of course, it's important to emphasize to have microphones muted. I have actually had this experience myself, and I know that other hearing participants who have done these virtual things have had issues too. With you hear background noise of babies crying, people eating, chewing noises, things like that, that can be really distracting. I have heard that that's pretty annoying. So in general, unless you're speaking, asking a question, have your meetings where everyone is muted and muting themselves so that the deaf and hard of hearing people aren't left out or distracted by all that's going on. Next, please. When you're including video content in your meetings, make sure that they all are captioned. And make sure that the captions are clear. We want to, do a test run to make sure that the captions aren't covering any of your content. Recording meetings for future viewing is extremely helpful. Like this meeting is being recorded. For people, deaf and hard of hearing participants who can't join during the live session or want more information, and want to watch the video later, if you don't have accommodations provided, can be a real barrier to them. So adding the captions onto every video, which is really great. That's a very accessible and awesome option for future viewing. When you're having a PowerPoint or sharing a screen during your presentations, please make your slides kind of short and concise. When you have the interpreter on the screen, we use that separator in between Zoom to kind of change the size so that the interpreter's bigger and you can see, but if your words are really small on the PowerPoint, that means we have to go back and forth constantly to try and read and access both things. So a short, concise slide is best. And providing frequent breaks, like we mentioned. Screen fatigue is a real issue. Our eyes get tired. Trying to pay attention to the different Zoom windows and who's talking at different times is really difficult. And interpreters need breaks too. They're human. Remember, we've got 3 interpreters on this call so that they all have a break in between their work. And now to ask yourself when you're presenting and when you're setting up a conference, is this an accommodation? Look at this picture. This is supposed to be a wheelchair ramp to provide access to this area. Where does it lead, that ramp? Is it actually an accommodation? Is it a good accommodation, if that's what we're calling it? Would the person who's utilizing a wheelchair actually be able to get up there? And then where do they go once they're up there? Where does that lead? So this may potentially, if you're providing accommodation that's not a good one, it's still not a good fit. Does your accommodation meet compliance? So for instance, here is a ramp, but exactly how does that fit with what's required as far as accommodations go? And is it convenient? So here you've got 3 different accommodations, but there are barriers within those accommodations. Where do these things lead? Are these convenient and acceptable for the use of the people that you're accommodating? Make sure that your accommodations are a good fit. Not all accommodations are good for everyone. Some people prefer lip reading, some people prefer interpreters, some people prefer captions. So remember that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Making sure that your accommodation is within compliance and convenient means that you're doing what's best in fitting the need. We have a plethora of resources here, information for you all to access. The National Deaf Center, their website is incredibly helpful. So much information there. I really encourage you to go through and take a look at that one in particular. We also here in South Carolina, through USC, have the South Carolina Assistive Technology Department. They help with equipment loans, and they are very informative and have lots of information for everyone on different equipment that can provide access and accommodations. And of course, the National Association of the Deaf. They're a wonderful organization with lots of information as well to help you with your accommodation needs. And my old alma mater, Rochester Institute of Technology, they have a college program for the deaf there, and they have a great resource list, an NTID, great resource list for access and accommodations. And Gallaudet as well. If you haven't heard of Gallaudet University, also has a wonderful list of resources and things to help with anyone who's navigating access and accommodation needs for deaf and hard of hearing people. Here in South Carolina, we do have the South Carolina Association of the Deaf as well. They work with changing laws and the legislature to make sure that access is available to the people of South Carolina. So they have a lot of information and are a good resource as well. And the Hearing Loss Association of America, HLAA, is also another great tool to check out and see if they can provide help. And then FireSafe South Carolina, a plug for them to, they help deaf and hard of hearing individuals get testing on their alarms in their home, smoke alarms. They have specific smoke alarms for deaf and hard of hearing people. So they are a safety group because deaf and hard of hearing people who don't hear the smoke alarms, they do have a particular piece of equipment that lights up and allows deaf and hard of hearing people to stay safe in their homes. And the South Carolina Equipment Distribution Program. I actually took advantage of this program myself. They have a free iPad program for people who are deaf, deafblind, and they also have for visually impaired people as well. But you can access their website to get free products for caption phones, various equipment that the deaf and hard of hearing can utilize. So they are a wonderful resource as well. When you're looking at accommodations, they have the application online to fill out, and you have to have an audiologist or your doctor fill out a portion of the paperwork as well, and then they can provide you with equipment for free. So thank you all, and I'll let Kathy finish us out.
Hey, this is Jenny. I actually had a couple questions in the chat that I wanted to make sure we were addressing. And I know, Eileen, you were just talking about this. Someone asked if we meant to just say audio or if we did mean to say video and audio off to help with accessing interpreters in webinars and things.
Well, in the interest of time, I'm going to answer it. So, when you have a not a webinar platform, but if you have a Zoom Pro account, or you're trying to do some other video platform, it's best for participants to have the video off and the audio off, unless you're speaking. You can see the way we did it today, where we want to have as few people on the screen as possible. Two things. I mean, most places don't have enough bandwidth to support video and audio, which has been a problem with these platforms for a long time for deaf people to access, because generally when there's not enough bandwidth, audio keeps going and video drops, which means you'll see freezing on the screen or trailing. So that's why you want to have participants to have all of that off.
Thank you. This is Jenny again. We did have another question. It says that they've had issues with closed captions not working when they move into breakout rooms in WebEx earlier this week. It worked in their main room, but not in their breakout room. And they're wondering if you've experienced this and maybe ways to resolve that.
This is Kathy. I'm not as familiar with WebEx as I am with Zoom. Like I said earlier, all the platforms are trying to get through this pandemic situation where we are not meeting in person and we're not having conferences, on site and in person. So it's been very difficult for accommodations. I think that there are, and the captioner that we use often for our NDC core team here in South Carolina told me that they have had to piece things together as well. And so it's possible that in a breakout room, whatever issues they're doing, she told me they have to bridge things in order to bring the captions onto the webinar screens. And then we understand as well that those captions do not record. And so you have to do something after the fact when your event is over to ensure that the captions are there and placed appropriately. What we've done with the transition program we have for deaf and hard of hearing students that we do every month called Transition Tuesday, what we have been doing is go ahead and do the webinar platform. And then afterwards, we upload that to YouTube. We let YouTube go ahead and do the automatic speech recognition captions, and then we fix them. That's at that point, it's a lot of steps. At that point, though, we're ready to post that for people to view in the future. So that's what we have been doing. I'm not sure if that would work for the webinar as well, but breakout rooms seem to have some issues.
Thank you, Kathy. This is Jenny again. I know one question earlier was about CART, and I think we addressed that already. They were assuming that was a live person based off the cost, and they were asking about other technology options, but I think you've addressed that already. Then someone else was saying the steep ramp was a great visual, and their question is, if they offer something to provide access and a person's preference is something else, what is required? So for example, if we provide ASL, but they prefer CART, what is the solution?
Well, that's, and I think that Amelia shared this when she was talking about the registration process. You want to have a way to communicate with that participant and ask them very specifically what they want. You may have, a group of participants that want CART and a group that want American Sign Language interpreting. And in that case, you want to do both because they're not equal, just like the ramp, it's an accommodation, but it's not an accommodation that everyone can use. And so that's really the key, is communicating with the person who requested it. And you may communicate to that person and say, hey, we're going to have American Sign Language interpreting. Will that work for you? And they might say yes. Or they might say, no, I have to have CART. I don't understand sign language. And just that way, you could have deaf and hard of hearing people who don't use sign language and never have used sign language. So for me, you want to do best practice of providing both.
Thank you, Kathy. This is Jenny again. One last question, is ASR ADA compliant?
So like I said, ADA doesn't really mention specifically. There are guidelines, though, that WCAG guidelines do not mention ASR as an option. So ASR is something to watch, though, because there's times that it can be applied. I would not use it for a conference or a training or for education, especially at this point. I don't know what it will look like in 5 years. Every time someone says something to Alexa or Siri, ASR learns. And so it is amazing technology, but it's also not where it needs to be for the purposes of training or for an event that you're trying to host.
Thank you. This is Jenny again, and that is all the questions I saw in the chat as of this time.
Well, we really appreciate the opportunity. I really want to thank the amazing trio of interpreters that we've had today. They keep SCVRD compliant and accessible, and we appreciate them so much. And also for the CART provider that came in today, we really appreciate that as well. And Joy, I don't know if you want to close everything out for us.
I'm glad to. Thank you so much to everybody for attending today and your interest. If you will keep an eye out for further trainings and dates on the task website or via your own agency's um, information source, we will also be posting those dates in our newsletter and in the event section of our website. Thank you again. You'll be expecting an evaluation in your mailbox this afternoon as well. Please complete that for us so that we can continue to improve the work that we do. Thank you to our presenters, to Voc Rehab, and enjoy your afternoon.